Yeah, that's a great question. So when it comes to your, I always start here with your mission. So find the plane that fits your mission. So for under $1 million, we're going to go about 1,000 nautical miles. We're going to have about 4 to 8 passengers in the back. How fast? If we're going, with the Lears and stuff. I mean, we're definitely, 325 knots up to. I don't know where the Lears are at, but we're going to be just. Big mouth eats the big number. Just under 400 knots. Some of the citations can get up there, especially if we're looking at Stallions with the FJ44 Williams engines. Although those are going to be just a shade over $1 million. How big of a cabin? We're looking roughly the light jets. Okay, so for someone of my stature, it's like, getting into a Suburban. It's going to be more roomy than a 172, or a Piper, obviously, but it's still a light jet. So you're not going to stand up, you're not going to break dance in it. You're just going to be able to kind of shuffle your way into it and sit down. My family and I chartered a Bravo a couple years ago to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I have 5 kids. So I got to sit up front, right seat, and then on the way back, my son got to sit up right seat. And with the 5 of us, no, at that point it would be six people in the back, plus my sister-in-law and her baby, so that was 7 in the back. It was a good thing we were all small. Okay, you're not going to have a full 7. The cabin's not going to be big enough for a full 7 people, plus all your luggage and things of that nature. And then, of course, how many stops, which is going to be obviously directed by this. So can you go up and down the East Coast in a sub-$1 million jet? Yeah, but you might have to make a stop. You have to kind of determine if you're okay with that for your mission. So let me kind of just stop there, pause. Any questions as far as this is concerned? Basically what I'm trying to do is show you what do you get for $1 million. This is kind of the mission profile. Are you good there? Okay. So once we understand that, what are we kind of getting into? Well, it's going to be old, and that's going to actually, let me, one of the challenges you're going to have here is financing. So when you're looking at the bank, the lenders are going to want something that's, 20 years or newer. When I say most lenders, I mean like if you went to Bank of America to try to get it. Now, if you're going to go to Flying Financial, I've got them writing a 1974 Piper Cherokee 6 for me right now. It's not a problem. They're used to it. But a lot of lenders like to see 20 years or newer. Especially when it comes to jets. I know we're dying over here. A lot of like to see engine programs. These aircraft are not going to have engine programs. Okay, so you're going to be paying for the overhaul when it's due. Overhaul on these engines, at least in the citation line, anywhere from $350,000 to $500,000 for a full overhaul.
Per engine?
Per engine. Per engine.
Are you able to finance the overhaul?
I'm sorry?
Can you finance the overhaul?
It's a good question. I've never asked a lender. I'll have to ask.
On its upgrades or any upgrade?
Not usually. When I talk to lenders, they just want to purchase the aircraft.
So lenders, if you've got an airplane that's got 2 overhauled engines and everything, some upgraded avionics, maintenance is all taken care of, AD, service and what have you, would they be more likely then to?
Oh yes, I personally, because I deal with in this market a lot. Yes, I have lenders that will take birds that are older than 20 years, not on engine programs. Yeah, we can definitely find lenders.
What kind of products are they offering for that?
20 to 30% down, 15 to 20 year term, and I think the last one I saw was 8 or 9%, something around those lines. So, but keeping in mind, if you're looking at a sub-$1 million jet, your lending options may be limited. I do recommend Flying Financial. A guy named Keller, K-E-L-L-E-R, he's the one I deal with. Flying Financial. Guys who do Flying Magazine, they're, if you're aware, they're like buying everything right now. They bought into a finance. So,
You ever sell any with owner financing?
mm-hmm. You know, it's a lot. The terms aren't very favorable, but some owners will. More common to see a lease with an option to purchase. That way, it starts to get hairy when you start to say, I'm going to finance this. Okay, who owns it? When I pay you, am I getting equity in the plane? It's a mobile asset. It gets a little bit hairy because of that. So usually they'll lease it, where the owner owns it. The guy who's leasing it is responsible for everything under the term of the lease. And then at the end, there's maybe a balloon payment or a $1 payment, and they just, in the back of their minds, they cover the purchase price of the lease. So
Now, with a product like that, renovated, what have you, are you finding that, are there any charter companies that would be willing to use that? Or is this going to end up being mostly private use?
Yeah, so so people will ask about the ability to offset their costs by leasing an aircraft like this back to a charter company. There is one in Florida that I put people in touch with. The way I look at that, whenever it comes to someone who wants to do that, I'm operator agnostic. So you, as a buyer, you come to me, Tom, I want to buy this jet. I'm thinking about putting it on a charter company. Great. What's the jet? We talk about that. Here are a few operators that you can connect with and see who's a good fit. Yes, there's two that I know of that would do legacy citations. The challenge is I'm actually selling 3 citations for one charter company is because when you go into, if you're going to charter an aircraft for, let's say, $3,500 an hour, and the guy who's trying to rent it is looking at a 1974 Citation 500 versus an early 2000 CJ, and it's roughly the same price, the charterability of these birds is much harder. Unless you have an operator that has a specific niche. Maybe they have contracts to transport people from the Space Coast through the Sun Belt, and there's like a contract. They're not relying on a website for people who want to go on vacation to the Bahamas and competing against the CJ2s. So when you get into this, you definitely need to talk to someone that has operators that kind of have a business plan to make these birds make sense.
Do you find that the foreign market actually opens up better opportunities than the domestic market?
For acquisition or for, yeah, I mean, if you're open to finding a bird in France, for example, like, yeah, there's definitely
I mean,
options.
like the end user, do you find that more of them are overseas willing to go with something like that?
No, there's plenty of American buyers that go with it.
Foreign buyers.
Foreign buyers. So do I have foreign buyers that are trying to buy citations? Not so much just because I don't deal with the foreign buyers for the most part. I have enough in the, I'm not trying to sound like an idiot, but there's enough US buyers that keep me busy here so that I don't find myself in the need for, yeah. Okay, challenges, one challenge is gonna be financing. Avionics, so a lot of the sub-$1 million jets, you're looking at either Garmin or Avidyne Avionics. A Garmin 750 in a Citation, I just kind of ballpark and say you're probably looking at $100,000 to get it installed, plus downtime. I did just see someone say, I think they were 12 weeks down for a Garmin dual a JetTag G600, both sides, and a dual 750. He didn't put a price point, but I'm roughly estimating between $135,000 to $200,000 depending on who does it. And that's kind of at what the market has been. It's kind of cooling off now. So you can upgrade to a 530, 430. You can upgrade to the Avidynes. I even have a Citation 5 right now that has a Textron AdViz. Yeah, I think there's only like 6 of those ever put in there, but that's a $2 million bird. But that's kind of what you're looking at in avionics. Any other questions on the avionics and the upgrades and stuff? Those are the main avionics at Garmin's and Avidynes. Maintenance, so this is kind of what I talked about in the buyer section, questions to ask for maintenance. What are the big maintenance items? So for the Citation line, and again, I apologize, I'm kind of in the Citation world, a phase 1 through 4 inspections every 2 years, and is going to cost you a base rate of roughly $20,000 to $25,000 base. Okay.
Per inspection.
A phase 1 through 4 inspection is definitely 4 different phases, but it's like one line item on your receipt, on your invoice, and that line item is going to say $20,000 to $25,000 as a base rate. A phase 5 inspection is every 3 years, and that's going to be a base rate of roughly $20,000 by itself. A phase 1 through 4 is a basic walk around. Make sure that everything looks good, cables are tight, no corrosion, that kind of thing. A phase 5, we're going to start pulling panels. We're going to start taking the interior out. We're going to look under, someone asked about corrosion. On these birds, you're looking at corrosion anywhere there's liquid. So if it has a potty in it, we're looking under there for corrosion. If it's in Florida, we're checking the landing gears. We're checking under the wings. We're checking the boots to make sure that there's no, the boots are in good shape and good condition. The rivets all around, there's no corrosion, especially by the fuel caps. Those are some of the things that we're looking at. But maintenance-wise, I don't have my computer pulled up, but if you connect with me and email me, I have a couple. One, I have a video of a walk around. I think it's going to drop next week. It's a walk around of a pre-buy, so you can kind of see what you would look. Oh, thank you so much.
I don't know if it works, the only one they had.
Okay. Hey, look at that. Okay. All right. So maintenance-wise, let me just pull the Band-Aid off. What I tell people is, if you don't have $250,000 to $500,000 a year just to like throw at your plane in a given year, you know, we all know the easiest part of acquiring a jet is the buying part. It's the maintenance that kills you. This is roughly based off of 150 average hours a year. This is based on a good year, on a bad year. This is fixed costs and direct operating costs on 150 hours. And I know we're jumping all over the place. Does everyone know direct costs and fixed costs? Yeah? Okay, so I won't go over that. So roughly, on these kinds of birds, sub $1 million, your direct operating, and this is over, this is not way over, but it's very conservative, $3,000 an hour with your fuel burn and all that kind of stuff. It's really closer to like $2,600, even less. But I just want to give you I want to try to talk you out of buying $1 million jet first.
That's the engine overhaul baked in, is that right?
That one.
Are you doing insurance and pilot and?
No, so this is DOC. This is operating. So fixed. If you connect with me on here, I can walk literally right through exactly what my database tells you what it would be. But I know the bottom number is going to be here for direct and fixed costs, roughly 150 hours. Okay. Another thing to keep in mind is going to be single pilot or crew. Some of these birds can be flown single pilot. Some of them can be flown single pilot with an exemption. If you're looking to do anything single pilot, watch out for insurance. They're not going to love single pilots flying a high turbine engine, especially depending on what your ratings are and your time in the seat is.
Co-pilots need to be typed, or can they just be a?
There's it's not a full type, but there is like a training. Yeah. And so, just in case you're curious, the single pilot versions under $1 million is Citation 501, a Citation 551. It's a 1SP, a 2SP. These are both single pilot out of the gate. Then you get into the citation lines of the CJs. The other one, they're a little over $1 million, but the Premier, the 1s and the 1As, those are single pilot as well. Honda Jet's definitely not $1 million. The Lear Jets are not single pilot. These are the main, the light jets that are going to be in that
You're
range.
staying away from like Eclipse 550, stuff like that, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about the Eclipse is another one. I've never sold an Eclipse, but I've definitely had people ask, hey, what do you think of the Eclipse? I'm like, it's just not on my radar. Citations.
So you
are my
said
bread and
the
butter.
Honda's definitely not $1 million. What would that come in at roughly?
I think they're like $3 million, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Because there really aren't that.
I'm sorry?
How used you want to go?
Yeah. Oh, great question. So old, yeah, 70. We'll just say, what is that? The 20th century. I have sold jets and flown in jets 10,000 hours plus. In the citation line, there is a 10,000 hour inspection. Once you get there, there's special inspections you need to do. But as far as they've gone 10,000 hours. I've sold jets with engines that are on their third overhaul. Okay, so these birds, depending on the maintenance, based on your pre-buy, they do fly and they can be safe. The other thing, with the engines. Okay, so if the engine, is 350K to 500K per side, what more and more people are doing is they either, for Part 91 operations, okay, if it's not a charter company, you can do a hot section at time of overhaul. The TBO on these engines are 3,500 hours. So every 3,500 hours, we take the whole thing apart, we put it back together. As a Part 91 operator, you can do a hot section inspection. A hot section can be, actually it can be cheaper than that, but let's just say 40 to 50K to do the hot section inspection. And so that compared to that, some guys are okay with that. However, what you need to watch out for, if you're looking at a plane under $1 million that's coming due for overhaul, and you're like, just do a hot section inspection. You have to watch out for the life limited parts. Your blades, impellers, let's see, what else another big, discs, what? Yeah, so at least these three I know for sure. These life limited engine mounts, these start to add up. The blades on a Citations engine, the Pratt & Whitney JT15D-1A, if you can find the old style blades, they're kind of economic. You know, they're like $20,000, $30,000 for a set. But the new style blades, the on-condition blades, can be 6 figures to put new blades in it. So you might have an engine that's coming due for overhaul, and you're like, I'll just do a hot section inspection. Well, check the maintenance to make sure that the blades aren't due, because that could be 6 figures right there. Now, granted, $150,000 is better than $350,000, but that's also going to play into your resale. Hey, did you overhaul the engine, or did you just do a hot section? So, okay, with the 5 minutes, with questions. And what else can I? Yes.
On the right seat, there is a designation second in command.
Thank you.
Buying an older jet, you're going to have an avionics package already in mind that you'd like to put in. You get to do your due diligence and make sure it's certified.
That happens to me on my
Not
one.
only with the FAA, but with like Cessna. Cessna, they say, no, we don't do that.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, you're talking about, yep. And also if it was installed overseas,
Yeah.
make sure it was done right. I've had guys have to take out their entire 750, 600 stack because it was done overseas. I think it was Guatemala or something. And they didn't sign off on it right. So they had to take the whole thing out and put it back in. So if you're going to do avionics upgrades, make sure you have the right paperwork. What else? Pitfalls, yeah.
So if you double your money, how much more plane do you get, or is the cost of scale up?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when it comes to I always start here with your mission. So find the plane that fits your mission. When you start to increase your budget for your mission, you're basically just getting newer. So when you ask, like, how much more plane do you get? Well, if you're still going 1,000 miles with 4 to 5 people in the back and you're cruising around there and you're okay with a light jet, now we're looking at Citation jets. So you have the CJs. Starts with Citation jet, then a CJ1, 1 plus 2, and on and on. So the CJs, yeah, they're right. They popped. The CJs are about $1 million to $2 million. You also look at Mustangs, but then now they're light jets. What I mean by that is the Mustang doesn't have a potty. Oh, corrosion, real quick. Just so you know, on the light jets, the potties, they do have lavatories. It's just like a honeypot. And if it says flushing, all it means is it's going to push liquid down to push the waste down. It's not what do they call it? Serviceable. So your pilot, or you, has to take that, walk through the cabin, and then get rid of it. That's your potty when you get into the light jets.
Don't rely on the FBO to do it.
What's that?
Don't rely on
Yeah.
the FBO to do it.
Right, yeah, don't lock it up and just be like, yeah, that.
High school kid that has a body duty.
Yeah. Again, my name is Tom Lelio. If you go to my book is The Ultimate Jet Guide, The Ultimate Jet Guide on YouTube, theultimatejetguide.com. Like these are all different ways that you can contact me. Like I said, I do primarily specialize as a broker. Primarily specialize in the citation, the light jet world. Sub $2 million. That's kind of what inspired me to do this forum, and I hope it was helpful for you guys. And
Where are you located?
I'm in Sarasota. Yep.
$2 million mark.
Oh, a $2 million market jet with these numbers, with this mission?
Yeah.
$2 million, you're going to look at CJs, probably a CJ, a really nice straight CJ with winglets and a G1000 is going to be close to $2 million. You can get into Phenoms are 2 to 3 million, so the Phenom 100s. 2 to 3
You
million.
feel they all have the same engine overhaul cost, and how about avionics?
The Phenoms are.
Is already upgraded or not?
Okay, so the avionics on a CJ, you can do the same upgrades, the 750s. Few of them have G1000. I'm sorry? Well, it's definitely newer than the 70s. I forget what the standard. I forget what the standard is on the CJs, but it's definitely newer. You're also on the CJs. You're getting better engines. Well, relatively speaking, better engines. You're getting the.
Will they be covered under the more of the engine programs or not?
So Moore doesn't usually do these engines, but there are engine extension programs. Skyway MRO is the engine extension program. Skyway MRO. Former Sierra Industries, the person who did some mods on the Citation 501s to put Williams engines on. Also Sky Aviation, which is here in Florida. They have an engine program. I think they're in
The
Pompano.
benefit of those engine programs?
The benefit is that you have this is a double AIP approved program that says we're going to do a borescope at 3,500 hours. Yep, we're going to do a borescope at 3,500 hours, and we have an approved alternate inspection program for the engines to let it go past TBO. Sky Aviation, I'm 90% sure it's an STC that allows them to put a monitoring system in the engines to monitor the health of the engines. So the benefit is you don't have to take the whole thing apart. You're still going to do a hot section, and you have like a piece of paperwork that says, here's how you take care of this thing, as opposed to just running it like, oh yeah, Bob's garage is going to do a hot section and I'll be fine. And as far as resale, more and more people are like getting okay with this. They're like, yeah, why would you spend the value of the airplane in the engines? It doesn't make sense. Just do this part.
Aside from the engines, how is the parts trail for?
Ooh, yeah. So one of the reasons I don't do a lot with Premiers is I feel like the parts and the availability is harder. I like the Citations because I think parts and pilots availability is better in the Citation. Same with the Eclipse. I just, you can tell this is just kind of my bread and butter.
And is there a useful life or a lifespan for the aircraft by Cessna?
I mean, from the resale market, no, we're still selling them from the.
What happens after the 10,000 hours? How expensive is that inspection?
The 10,000 hour usually coincides with the 1 through 5. The 10,000 hour includes an X-ray. It's usually about 30 grand, but since you're popping it in with a 1 through 5, you could be 6 figures. 70 usually is kind of like the starting point because you're looping it in with a bunch of inspections. You're putting it down. So.
Are they finding a lot of corrosion?
Yeah, I mean, if they're Florida birds, California birds, you want someone that knows where to look for corrosion. Absolutely. Absolutely.
What is more, are you going to save a lot of money buying the old and then upgrading everything? Or are there just none for sale once they've been upgraded?
No, you can definitely buy them. So we're in a market right now where we're off the peak. That was last January was the peak. Last year was the slowest year for transactions in 10 years, the number of transactions. And so now January and February were silent. Things are picking up more. There's more inventory. It's becoming more of a healthy market. I wouldn't call it a buyer's market like it was right before COVID. Or once COVID hit and everything shut down, I mean, that was a buyer's market. That was the time, late 2020. And then it just kept going up, 21, 22, 23 kind of peaked, and now we're kind of starting to come down. So my personal opinion is I'd rather buy a jet that's already upgraded because I don't want to wait for the downtime and stuff to put it in. And I'm not going to get my money back by putting 100 grand into the 750s. VREF, after 5 years, I mean, there's nothing left when you're doing valuations on these jets, on the avionics upgrades. So the value's in the engines for the most part. Absolutely. Okay.
Have you been selling through more than one market cycle?
Yeah, 4 years. I've been selling for 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you watched it go up. Now we're going down.
Mm-hmm. Steadily. And talking with other people, like this is kind of like
Do you have this for the next round too?
I do, yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and let them in.
Please, yeah.
What was the market down? It wasn't a million percentage-wise.
So so in COVID, right before COVID, these $500,000 birds, the Citation 1 piece were like 300, 325. And then they went up to like 6, 7 in the peak, and now they're back down to about 5, 6. Hello, welcome everybody.